In addition to the degrees that it confers on its graduates today, Columbia College Chicago also awards honorary degrees to individuals who personify all things Columbia. Their professional accomplishments, their creative vision, the way they engage with the world, it truly embodies the ideals of Columbia College Chicago. We will award 4 such degrees this weekend at our commencement ceremonies. The bios of all of the honorees can be found in your program. Now, right now, I would like to welcome Dr. Peter Carpenter. He is a choreographer, and a very popular faculty member, of course, whose work is cutting edge. It's a mix of rhythm and political activism. He is Associate Professor of Dance and the current chair of the Dance and Theater Departments. Please welcome Mr. Carpenter, who will introduce the distinguished individuals we are honoring this morning. Dr. Carpenter.
Hello, everyone. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Jennifer Farrington to you today. Jennifer is an alumna of Columbia who has enjoyed a long and successful career at the Chicago Children's Museum. She started as an intern over 25 years ago, and she is currently serving as its president and CEO. Yes, a commitment to improving children's lives through the arts has guided her work throughout her tenure. Located at the historic Navy Pier, the museum is known nationally for a progressive engagement with play-based learning. And one can see this through the generous allotments of space and resources given to things like a tinkering lab, climbing rooms, art spaces, all of which value a child's encounter with the creative process. Now, although I am a college professor and chairperson today, a significant portion of my early career was spent teaching creative movement, dance technique, and arts integration to children, as an artist in schools or in various summer and after-school programs. It's some of the most rewarding and challenging work I've ever done, and immediately upon starting this work at the age of 21, 3 things became very clear to me. First, it was clear to me that the compensation structure in education is inverse from what it should be. In my opinion, the most experienced and highly paid instructors should be teaching the youngest children, because teaching young children takes the greatest expertise and attunement with the child. And these qualities are far more rare than content expertise and a specialized area. No offense to those behind me. Second, every child deserves a space where they are seen and heard on their own terms. In contrast to the standardization of the K-12 education system, which requires that every student conform to a certain set of standards, it was clear to me that the most meaningful experiences for students were in the spontaneous moments of play and connection, the moments where they could share something of themselves and how they see the world with those around them. It was these moments of play I came to understand that were vitally important for a child's overall well-being. And third, it was clear to me that there are far too few opportunities for that kind of play in the lives of many children. Some time spent in a creative movement class, for example, was the highlight in a day that was otherwise left them squeezed between pressurized testing experiences and compliance-driven behavioral drills. From these lessons, then, the values that Jennifer Farrington has championed through her work at the Chicago Children's Museum is not just child's play. Rather, I believe it offers the potential of a liberatory space where children can be exactly who they are and play exactly as they need to, and where the children's needs are prioritized in the center of civic life. And that, I would argue, is vital work that benefits not only children and their caregivers, but our city as a whole and beyond for future generations. President Kim, I present Jennifer Farrington to receive the degree of Doctor of Arts.
Jennifer Farrington, By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees and with the great pride of your alma mater, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Arts, honoris causa, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carpenter, for that lovely introduction. Dr. Kim, Chairman Wolf, Board of Directors and Trustees, Columbia College, thank you so much for this honor. It's far more emotional than I anticipated. It's really quite incredible. As you all heard, for the past 10 years, I've been the president and CEO of Chicago Children's Museum. And thank you. And you also heard that I started at the museum at pretty much the bottom of the ladder. In 1991, I saw a listing on a bulletin board in Columbia's Career Center for an unpaid intern at Chicago Children's Museum. I had never heard of a children's museum, but as soon as I walked into the place, I knew it was for me. It was creative, collaborative, challenging, and meaningful. In other words, it was everything that Columbia had prepared me for. And now, 27 years later, I'm the president. Working in a children's museum is the ultimate interdisciplinary job. We develop, design, and produce all of our own exhibits, and we create and present hundreds of programs and performances every year. We employ an extraordinary team of people like you, artists, designers, builders, educators, makers, fundraisers, musicians, dancers, project managers, and program developers. We see ourselves as a creative collective working to create extraordinary experiences for children and families from every ward in the city and all over the world, 405,000 people a year. We work hard to make sure that Chicago Children's Museum is accessible, affordable, and generously welcoming to all. But back up, 30 years ago, I was 20 years old and I was leaving my home in Kalamazoo, Michigan to attend Columbia College, a place that nobody I knew had ever heard of. I arrived in Chicago in 1988 and I found a roommate in the Reader. This was before the internet. And I moved myself sight unseen into an apartment in Lakeview before gentrification of that neighborhood. I had a couple of years of college under my belt, but frankly, I was a bit of a mess. Maybe not really a mess, but let's just say completely and utterly directionless. So I'd always been a good student, but my experience had been that it was that was outside of the classroom that was exciting to me. That's what energized me, sparked my curiosity, and frankly, made me the happiest. I'd grown up dancing, ballet first, and then modern dance. And in fact, I first found Columbia while I was participating in a college dance festival. I had taken many, many art classes throughout my childhood and high school, and I knew that an artist was a thing you could be. I had done some musical theater in high school, and I watched David Letterman every night religiously and thought that being a talk show host or something with TV would be cool. And growing up in Kalamazoo, the coolest place you could hang out was the foreign and indie movie theater, so I'd grown to be pretty obsessed with film. Did I mention that I played flute and piano? Really, really, really poorly. Flute, last chair. Piano, I was actually fired by my piano teacher. But you get the point. You can see that I loved, and I still love the arts. To me, what you do, what we all do, this is the single most important and exciting way to explore, experience, and understand the world. I love the feeling of walking into a gallery and trying to understand the work on the walls. Opening a book to see how a writer can surprise us with a new way to make sense of the world. Or the excitement of waiting backstage or in the audience to find out what's going to happen when the lights go up. I knew I needed to be part of this world, I just wasn't sure how. What was the one thing that only I could do? What could I be best at? In each of those scenarios, I could sort of imagine playing the star, the Patti LuPone, the Martha Graham, the David Letterman, and because it was the 80s, Madonna. But I knew there must be more to the show than just the person standing in the spotlight. The problem was, as a kid growing up, I had never heard of a production coordinator, or a tour manager of a dance company, or a project manager, a fabric buyer, a development director, exhibit designer, or PR person. And I'd certainly never met the president of a museum. We don't hear very much about these roles, the hundreds of perhaps less visible, but absolutely no less important creators and producers of work. Our culture loves to celebrate the lone artist. We don't talk about the fact that for every person with name recognition, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people out in the world working in the arts, creating amazing work every single day. With very few exceptions, you as one individual person can have an idea, but it takes a team of collaborators, co-workers, and community supporters to make it happen. Finding and hiring amazing people, getting everyone faced in the same direction, gathering the resources we need to do the best work, then making sure that work gets made and out into the world. These things can often be equally important, and sometimes more important than the creative spark of an idea. It's got to get done. This was the first and the most important thing I learned at Columbia College. The arts are a team sport. In film classes at Columbia, I was able to understand that directing a film, that may not be mine to do, but I was great at setting a schedule, making sure we had that equipment, making sure that we had the volunteer actors lined up, ensuring that we'd signed up for the editing suite, often juggling all of these things at the same time. When I offered to help a friend throw an opening night press event, with, might I add, zero experience throwing opening night press events, it was for his musical improv drag show at a storefront theater, I managed to get a prominent local theater critic there to review the show. And, in an accomplishment even more popular with the performers, I got both beer and pizza donated for the after-show party. So, check off 2 more critical skills in our field, media relations and fundraising. I was quickly learning that not only do teams make it happen, but there was a place on that team for me and for all of you. We can be the timekeeper, the organizer, the talent wrangler, the cheerleader. What I learned at Columbia is that you have to look for opportunities and take them. They're not always going to be a perfect fit. Development assistant? Sure. Office manager? Why not? Events planner? I'll try it. Every new opportunity is a chance to make connections, prove your value, and learn something new. You may find a role that you're very good at, or at the very least, add a new skill to your arsenal, and you never know where it might lead. When I said my job was interdisciplinary, it's because in our field, all the jobs are interdisciplinary. Artists write proposals. PR people need to take photographs. Everyone needs to create and stick to budgets. And without exception, we must all effectively communicate the value of our work. As a student at Columbia College, you have gained those skills. Use them to your advantage. Exercise those skills to find those opportunities and the next, and the next, and the next, each time with your new, strengthened portfolio. Next lesson, become an expert at collaboration. The quintessential Columbia assignment is the group project, right? Everybody? That's because your entire career is one big group project. Mine certainly is. Every exhibit, or art installation, or cultural fest that we produce, I am reminded that collaboration is essential to success. It's an active skill, and it's a daily practice. Listening, exchanging ideas, letting go of ideas, engaging your community and your audience, and working together toward a common goal. Of course, for collaboration to be successful, the diversity of your collaborators is critical. Some people say that diversity is a defining characteristic of this present moment, but I don't know if there was a place that was more diverse than Columbia College in 1988. Age, race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, abilities, so many other dimensions of diversity were represented. It was exciting, and that kind of environment demands that we learn with, from, and about people with unique sets of experiences and skills, assets, and perspectives. It's through this work that we develop sensitivity, understanding, empathy, respect for each other, and with luck, friendships and partnerships. It is no surprise that Columbia College is a trailblazer in this aspect. This value endures. You are going into the world in strange times. We face divisiveness, untruths, hatred, and incivility every day. So in addition to creating your opportunities, seeking collaboration, and championing diversity, I want to add, make good art that does good. At Columbia, we learn that you can make a life in the arts, but we also come away knowing that we can use the arts to make more good in the world. Professors, internship supervisors, faculty, staff, your fellow students, they have all modeled what it means to be best at their craft and best in their field. But they are also really, really good humans. Every day, you demonstrate that art is important. Artists are critical to a healthy society. Creative people have always sought to understand how ideas can challenge us and move us forward. Have a point of view. Make choices that show who you are and what you value. Your voice matters, especially now, so make it loud. Thank you.